Guys, welcome back to Recipes. I wanted to thank you for all the love and support for episode 1. It's been amazing seeing everybody make my epic vegan salad and your different versions of it. So we're back today and I'm gonna be making one of my favorite easy dishes. It's called Shakshuka. It's basically a 1 skillet egg dish. So shakshuka is basically eggs cooked in a delicious broth, like tomato broth with a lot of different spices. You know, we eat it in Israel it's a kind of like a breakfast item, but you can eat it for lunch and dinner. You can add chickpeas. So it's one of those recipes you can really have fun with and, you know, play around and add some different ingredients. But I'll basically tell you what you need and the basic way of making it, and feel free to be creative. Now, what I also love about this dish is very diet friendly, even though I really hate that word. But if you're, trying to cut calories or you're trying to get into better shape and you want a filling meal instead of just eating eggs or, chicken and broccoli or whatever, you can try shakshuka. It's super filling and tasty and it fills you up because of the spices. All right, so what do you need? Well, you need eggs, of course. Okay. You're gonna need an onion, which you're gonna chop. So I did it already, so you don't have to watch me slice and chop everything. A red bell pepper, also chopped. You're gonna need crushed tomatoes. So you can now here's the thing. You can either get a bunch of cans of crushed tomatoes and put them in your pantry, because it's good for a lot of recipes that I'm going to make and show you. So you can either use, for this recipe in particular, you can either use crushed or diced tomatoes in a can, or if you want to be fancy, you can get some fresh tomatoes and peel them. For this recipe, I'm going to use both and show you how to make it. You're going to need also tomato paste and spices. This is what makes the recipe what it is using different spices. I'm gonna use my dad's Abba spice, which you can't get in stores. Maybe you will soon, and hopefully I'll sell it. You never know. But this is my Abba spice, and I basically put it on everything. But if you don't have Abba spice, I suggest you get black pepper, which you should have. And you need cumin. And I'm going to use this for a future recipe. I'm going to show you guys how to make hummus. And I use cumin for my hummus recipe. And I'm going to use paprika. And if you have, chili flakes at home, you can use that if you want to add a little spice to it. And last but not least, I also have some garlic, which I chopped. And I'm going to add to this recipe a little crumbled feta on top. All right. So now that everything's chopped, I can just go ahead and head over to my skillet and make my shakshuka. All right, so get a skillet. Now first preheat your oven to about 375. That's where we're gonna, put the dish after it's ready, so the eggs can be a little bit more over easy. Unless you like them runny, then you don't need to do that. All right, so first thing, of course, every household needs a good olive oil. I actually got this at Cool & Vines. It's a really nice, has a nice flavor to it. So you can just use any regular non-fancy olive oil. Oh, I'm gonna turn on. Okay, so I'm gonna put some olive oil in the pan. And then I'm gonna start with the garlic and the onions. So I like to caramelize my onions a little bit. Adds a little flavor. Again, this is the type of recipe you can have fun with. So you don't need to do exactly what I'm saying verbatim. You'll see what I mean. It's all about the spices. All right, let me add some more onions. I'm actually not really a huge raw onion fan, but I really like them caramelized, and it's so good in the shakshuka. All right, perfect. So we're gonna caramelize that. Now that they're a little bit soft, I can actually add the red bell pepper. Just put that in there. It already smells really good, and I didn't put any spices yet. Put a little bit more. Actually, let me just put all of it. Smells so good. Okay, so So while that is cooking, I'm going to use some spices. Now, again, the spicier it is, the tastier. So play around with the spices. I'm gonna put a little bit. Now, normally I put my Abba spice. Maybe I'll start selling one day, and you guys could use for your recipes. But for now, I'll use whatever I have on hand, which I mentioned earlier. So we're gonna put in some ground black pepper. And, you know, again, like I mentioned, I don't really like to measure my stuff. So I like to taste as we go along. I'm going to put a little black pepper. Sprinkle that on top. We're going to put some ground cumin. I love the smell of cumin. So good. Sprinkle that on. I think the cumin is key to have in the house, especially for Middle Eastern recipes. I'm going to put in some sweet paprika. Smells good. Okay. If you have chili pepper flakes, if you want to make it spicy, definitely put that in there. I don't think I have any, so. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, I'm going to put some salt. You definitely need a lot of salt. All right. So now that it's very fragrant, we can add in the tomatoes. And I'm going to add some of the crushed tomatoes. Oops, I'm making a huge mess. All right, I'm a very messy cook, but that's okay. As long as we get it done, right? Okay, so I'm gonna let that cook a little bit so it absorbs all the flavors of the spices. Smells really, really good. Now, while it's cooking, feel free to, taste it to make sure that it's not missing any spices. Because once you put the eggs, that's it. All right, could use some more salt. And then I'm going to put some more cumin. And more paprika. That should be good. Oh yeah, now we're talking. All right, so we're gonna let that cook a little bit. So you let it cook until, until the peppers and the tomatoes are soft. So it takes about, I would say, 7 to 10 minutes, not more. And then we're ready to crack the eggs on top. So I've seen people add chickpeas, add meat, add chicken. If you have like stuff laying around, like in your fridge, and you want to add it in, go for it. What I love about cooking is that you can be creative. You don't necessarily have to follow a recipe verbatim, and as long as you taste it and it's properly seasoned, it's gonna taste good. I like literally wing it. So let me see. Oh yeah, more salt, definitely more salt. I like salt, it's not good. All right, so it looks like it's pretty well cooked through. So I'm gonna add the feta cheese now. You can, you don't have to add feta if you don't want to. I think it adds a nice little extra treat in your mouth. All right, so I'm going to just crumble the feta. All right, so I'm going to lower the heat. I'm going to just have it simmer. All right, so now is a very crucial part of the process is cracking the eggs on top, you know, like sunny side up. You want to try not to break the egg. If you do, it's fine, but for aesthetic purposes, you want it to look, you know. So what I do is I make little holes in the skillet, kind of like a little hole. You can put as many as you like. I like to put, you know, 3 or 4. All right. Wish me luck. All right, got one good one. So I'm going to turn the heat back on so they can start cooking. Okay. I'm going to do number 2. Okay. So this dish is actually good enough for 2 or 3 people. So if you want to make dinner for your bae. Oh, I almost messed up that one. Or you can just eat the whole thing yourself. If I could assume how many calories this thing is, without the feta, I would say roughly 350 calories for the whole thing. With the feta, maybe a little bit more. And it's eggs and basically tomatoes and spices. So super healthy. And filling. Now, the best thing about using a lot of spices, when it's a little bit spicy, it actually tricks your stomach into being full. So the more experiment with spices, the better things taste and the less hungry you'll be. It makes sense. All right, so we're gonna let that cook. It looks really good. We're almost ready. And then after, in a few minutes, I'm gonna stick it in the oven and then we're done. All right, so I'm done with this. I'm gonna stick it in the oven for a few minutes so that the eggs can cook a little bit more. Sometimes you can also put, you know, a cover on top if you like. I prefer putting it in the oven. So I'm gonna do that. All right, so it looks like it's pretty much ready. I like my eggs on the runny side, but if you want them cooked a little longer, you can leave it in the oven for a little bit longer. But it looks fantastic. Oh, you can see how delicious it looks. Look at that. Yum, yum. I'm gonna let it cool. I usually actually serve it in the skillet, so you can, you know, put it underneath a big plate and serve it on the table with some bread or some pita. You can have, you know, the vegan salad next to it, which is really delicious. This goes well with really pretty much anything. It could be a side dish. It could be, you can eat it for breakfast, and you can just literally eat it on its own in the skillet. I'm gonna warm up, all I have is a bagel. So I'm gonna warm up a bagel and I'm gonna sit down and eat. Hope you can join me. Okay, oh, yum, I'm excited. So I like to usually eat this with pita, but I don't have any. Maybe one day I'll make a pita recipe. It's pretty easy to make actually. Grab my little spoon here, basically dip in and get, you know, 1 egg, kind of scoop it up. Yum. You have the feta in there. Look how delicious that looks. Mmm. Mmm. Super delicious and flavorful. Yum. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed episode 2 where we make shakshuka. If you make it, questions, feel free to send me a message and tag me in all your videos. I love seeing you guys recreate these recipes. It's been a lot of fun. If you have any suggestions or anything you'd like us to make, just let me know. You know where to find me. This is Chickpea. I'm out.